Hi everyone, welcome to this demonstration for the VCT 420 students at the University of Phoenix. The purpose of this demonstration is to demonstrate how to complete the Flash Scene 1 assignment. The purpose of the assignment is to create a web advertisement for cold refined foods, really focusing in on a department. So everything that I'm going to create will be for the bakery. You can choose any department you want, so let your imagination run wild. Find imagery that relates to the department, that relates to cold refined foods. Pull in those colors, pull in the browns, the greens, the light yellows into your design. Make it fit with Kohler's brand name. I'm going to be looking for that when I'm grading. I'm also going to be looking that the design is visually appealing. So you're probably wondering, well, why are we starting out in Photoshop? What's the purpose of starting out there? It makes it really easy to bring in a full design into Flash if you start out in Photoshop. So I've designed everything. I've made my layout how I want it so I can use it throughout my animation and my advertisement. One of the most important pieces is to making sure that all of your layers are named appropriately. So make sure they're named. This will be really beneficial when we head over into Flash. The other thing is if you want anything that has its own transparent background, it will need to be made separately. So one of the suggestions I have is I know that I'm going to want to animate my logo, and I'm also probably going to want to animate my bakery text. So what I need to do is I need to take those out individually. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out, and I'll show you how I do this. I grab my crop tool, and I actually just am going to crop it out because these will be the size I need anyway. So I want to save on file size, so I'm going to crop out what I need. Then I'll just do File, Save for Web. Make sure it's a PNG. I always like PNG for transparent. That's my logo. I'm going to hit Save and Replace. And I'm going to do the same thing for the bakery text because that is what I want to animate. The purpose of Flash Scene 1 is to zoom out that bakery text. And I'm going to do File, Save for Web. Again, a PNG because I like the quality. Hit Save on that one. I'm going to come back, I'm going to delete that crop, and I'm going to turn everything on but the bakery text and the logo, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it as a Photoshop document, so keep it in the PSD form. Heading back over into Photoshop, or in Flash, heading over to Flash, I'm going to use ActionScript 3.0. The default stage size is 550 by 400, which is what I set the Photoshop document. So I'm going to do File New, or File Import, and I'm going to import to stage. I'm going to grab my Photoshop document. I'm going to click Open. I'm going to take all of my layers except for the Kohler logo and the bakery. I'm going to set the stage size to be the same as the Photoshop canvas. Now, when you're designing yours, make sure that it's no larger than the 550 by 400. You could make it smaller, but I do not want to see it any larger. You do not see web advertisements any larger than this. So we're going to hit OK. Notice how it brought it all in. It also brought in all of my layers. Anything you want to animate needs to be on its own layer. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to name this logo because I'm going to animate the logo, so I need to bring it in separately. I'm going to do File, Import, Import to Stage, pick my logo, hit Open, and I'm going to put it into place. Notice it goes into my library. You can see your library is next to the Properties tab, and it's a graphic symbol, and that's what's visually represented here by the trees. I need to do that same thing to that bakery text again. And I'm going to click on that keyframe. I'm going to import to stage. I'm going to put my bakery text. I had it roughly probably about here. So all of these are graphic symbols. Well, we want them to actually be movie clips. Anything you want to animate needs to be a movie clip. So I'm going to select it. I'm using my selection tool. It's already selected because you see the blue box around the symbol. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say convert to symbol. I'm going to choose movie clip and I'm going to call this bakery text. You can see that in the library it actually became a different symbol. That stands for the movie clip. It's purple. The movie clips can have their own timelines. So if I double click on it, it brings up its own timeline for the bakery text. My favorite thing to use are these motion presets. They're in the panel on the right hand side here. If not, you can always find everything underneath the window menu at the top. So I'm going to click on the motion presets. And if you start looking at some of these are like all the animations that you can do. And one of them, zoom in, zoom out. So you can do these zooms. They're very smooth. I actually want it to zoom in this case because you can see it's coming towards me, which is more the motion of zooming out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. So hit OK. And you can test these. So now this is happening over roughly 25 keyframes. So that means it's happening in about a second. Well, I want it to take just a little bit longer. So I'm actually going to take this out to about 70. So it happens slower. What I also want to happen is these are the different places that it transitions. So you can see how it's coming in. And you can also move these if you want them to happen slower or faster. So I could always pull this over a few keyframes. And if I hit return, I can test it. Now on this very last keyframe, I really want this text to be bigger. So I'm going to grab my free transform tool and I'm going to keep it going so it kind of gets in your face. But I'm going to test this. Okay, so it's really pulling out. So I might want to keep stretching this. And I also want to make it so that it changes the alpha so that it looks like it's zooming out. So if you have it still selected and you click on the properties, there's this color effect and it's called alpha. If I turn this down to 0, it will look like it's completely moving off stage. Okay, and how that happens there. Now you're going to want to tweak this to make it look, I mean, it's getting pretty close. I might want to take some more time with this particular keyframe at the very end. So I might pull it a little bit further out and move this one as well. Actually, I need to stretch this. So maybe I want this keyframe to come back. Always test this to make sure it's looking how you want it to look. I think that's actually pretty good. So if I click back onto my scene 1 and I go up to Control, Test Movie, and I'm going to test this in the browser. That's exactly what should happen. And that's all that you need to do for scene one. Now, I'm probably going to go a little bit more above and beyond because I want something a little bit more interesting than just that text zooming out. So I want to do something with my logo. So I'm going to double click on my logo. Well, actually, I'm going to right click on my logo first because I need to make it a movie clip, right? So I'm going to right click on this, convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll probably call it logo. I'm going to double click on it, takes it into its own timeline. I'm going to grab one of these motion presets again, and I want it to uh, fly in. What direction do I want it to come? Maybe blur, or maybe just fly in. Kind of like the fly in. With it selected, I'm going to hit apply, and then I can test it to see where I want it to go. I can drag this over so it ends in the right spot where I want it. Now for this one, I do want it to be just a little bit longer, so maybe about 50. Now for this one, I need it to stop, so I'm going to add an actions layer because I don't want it to do it repeatedly. I'm going to insert a keyframe on this last frame here, and then I'm going to apply some actions, and I'm going to click stop. I'm going to type in stop for the actions. So now it won't loop over and over again. It will just go right into place. Now I'm going to head back to scene one. I'm going to test this movie. And my logo comes in. My text is zooming out. So this is something that's just different. You can animate anything you want to animate in here, just making sure that you're meeting the scene requirements of the text zooming out. But you could animate other pieces to make it more intriguing and attention-getting, as long as it's not overdone. Make sure it's tastefully done and it meets the needs of your audience. The last step for submission is to publish it. So we're going to go to File, Publish. It publishes a SWF to the folder wherever you've specified where you're going to save this. So I actually didn't save it yet, so I'm going to just head back over to Flash. I'm going to save it. I want to save it in my folder. And now I'm going to publish it. And then I should have my SWF. You can right click on it, you can play it in the browser, or you could play it right within the Flash player itself. I'm looking for you for this individual project here to submit it as a SWF. And that's all she wrote. That's Flash Scene 1. I'll create another video demonstration for Flash Scene 2 and Flash Scene 3 to get you going on that. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message and I'll happily respond and get you going. Thanks for tuning in.